Hey y'all, it's Alex and welcome back to my channel. This video is a continuation of last week's video and I will link that somewhere around here if I can manage to figure that out. If not, check down in the description below. So last week I went in depth on who these two characters are and how I went about creating them. So just as a refresher, or to anyone who doesn't want to go back and watch that video, the girl with the long hair is named Sign, and the girl with the short hair is named Marrow. Sign is a full demon, whereas Marrow is a half demon, and they're fighting over this object, that the hourglass thing, because Sign needs the soul held within it to maintain living. She needs the soul inside of the hourglass to keep living, whereas Marrow doesn't need it because she has a human soul that she can keep sustaining off of. Don't know why exactly, but I mean, that's the story that ended up happening. So, in the midst of the coloring process here, I'm going to show a few clips of my original comic creation process, because other than some small one-page stuff that really wasn't anything of substance, it was minor fan art stuff, I've never really tackled a comic before. So, like a lot of things that I tend to do with art, I go in without doing a whole lot of prep beforehand. Luckily for me, I thought to thumbnail out the comic back before I thought to do the single comic page and the splash sheet. I was going to do 2 full pages of comics, and I'll kind of put it up on the screen here. And I kind of ironed out the beginnings of the dialogue that I wanted to happen and the dynamic I wanted them to have. And this original one had, it felt a little static, just because the top panel is the same sort of thing on both. And also this original version was going to be a whole lot bloodier than the comic that I ended up creating, which I think that probably would be a good thing for putting on YouTube. So on the back of the page that I used for doing the thumbnails, I started trying to do the actual comic. And I found that I wasn't yet comfortable enough with how I was drawing the characters. I messed up the scale, and they looked... It's basically like taking my cartoons, or my style, and making it more chibi instead of more... I don't know if you would call it a weird blend between anime and cartoony. So I stopped halfway through. I'm like, I don't quite like the style that I'm putting this in. I'm not comfortable yet with these characters, which is when I decided to do the splash screen. And this was a really great help for letting me get comfortable with their designs and kind of tweaking them a little bit. I modified Marrow's collar because I didn't want them both to have a sweetheart neckline bodice thing. So I wanted there to be a little bit more of a difference, though Marrow's neckline still harkens back to Sign's, so it's like a callback to maybe what they both would have worn when they were still on the same team, but I wanted to switch it up a tiny bit. After I did a little bit of sketching on this page, and I was like, oh, I don't want to continue this while I'm not happy with the posing, with the framing of it, I'm glad that I stopped, took a minute, and modified the layout. I actually took about 2 days to sit back and think on it, and in the meantime, I made myself a list of written out shots that I wanted to have before I actually went into sketching. And this list includes the first shot, or the first panel is an establishing shot of the ruins with the podium and Marrow. And this shot kind of got blended down into the next few, which is Marrow stands at the podium with the prize, and she would reach a hand out and grab it and then pick it up and look at it, and then you hear Sign walking up behind her. This was when I was still planning on doing 2 full pages and having the splash page be something else entirely, just kind of like cool illustration thing for these 2 characters. But when I started sketching out the thumbnail, I realized that the first 3 spots here were a little bit unnecessary for how brief I wanted this snapshot of these 2 characters to be. So I pared it down to just starting at the 2 sisters facing off against each other. I'll show you my thumbnail version on a smaller piece of paper versus the final version, and I really ironed out exactly what I wanted in the final version using this. There is some differences in the width of panels just because of the size of the page, but stepping back and working on this list and then working on the thumbnail version with it right next to me was integral to making the comic flow better. I will admit, there are some parts of this list that I wish that I would have kept in, like one of the spots that it says, Sign only in profile shot. Do you want your sister to die? And then the next one down is, Marrow only in shot. Yes. I wish I would have been a little bit more brief than this. Having those big paragraphs, I don't know whether or not it was absolutely necessary. I could have done a closer up shot and then like maybe done an establishing shot of the item, because that would probably be something that would be explained further into the comic if this ended up actually becoming a full thing. Through the thumbnailing processes, I don't know how that gets pronounced. Through the process of thumbnailing all of the different versions, the one thing I've realized that I was lacking for making a future comic was the ability to make good poses for fight scenes. I'm not quite good at choreographing those in a visual format. Not to toot my own horn, I do think that my fight scenes in my novels are not the worst, but it's a very different challenge to make them work in a physical medium. It's something I'm going to have to work on for the future. Now that we're done coloring this monster, why don't we get into the dramatic reading?
Marrow, give me the hourglass. You don't need the soul it carries. That is my lifeblood. Without it, I will die. Would you really kill me, sweet little Mar? Would you starve your sister?
Why shouldn't I came here thinking that I'd have to pummel your corpse into your grave. But if I can keep these souls away from you until you wither away, that would be more than enough for me. Starvation is just as good a method as any other. Either way, I can't let you go. So, son, tell me, how would you like to die?
Oh, Marrow. I won't be the one beaten into their grave today.
Give me the hourglass.
If you'd feel so inclined, hit that subscribe button and check me out on my other social media handles. Thanks, and I'll see y'all in the next one.